Hey guys, welcome to The Divide. I am not on 106.3 FM today. We are moving offices, studio. Got a new studio. We're leaving the Hungerford building, and the new studio is not up and running yet. So if you tune into 106.3, you're going to be listening to my show from last week, The Divide show from last week. So if you go there and you wonder why the heck is it so much different, I'm doing the show from the car. I'm doing just Facebook Live today. So, and if you know anybody who's just tuning into 106.3, let them know that that's not live. And they may be thinking, deja vu, didn't I hear this before? Anyways, we're made possible still by CJM Full Service Remodeling. Call Super Chad at 585-414-8241. I don't know how long the show is going to be today. It's kind of like a Right on Red, my YouTube channel show, because it's just here. It's not really a radio show today, but we're going to still say The Divide. 106.3 FM Rochester, free radio. 106.3 FM Rochester, free radio. Sound good, right? I should be the voice for that. Anyways, I want to really talk about the border and how it impacts a lot of other aspects of our country. Adds a lot of other risks to our country. Adds things that we might not see for years. But because the terrorists, we've caught many terrorists. We've caught many on the terror watch list crossing the border. So how many haven't we caught? Because those people aren't trying to get caught. So most likely there's at least the same number that haven't got caught that's in this country. You know, there's a lot. And it seems like Al-Qaeda was, Al-Qaeda with Bin Laden, they were very patient. 9/11 was something that was in the works for years before they executed it. And that's why they executed it so precisely. I'm not giving him credit because he's an evil person that killed a lot of people. I'm not like Ilhan Omar, who says, whatever, some people did, people did something. Some people did something on that day. Come on. Like, wow. I mean, she's a real asset to our Congress, right? I mean, she also supports Hamas and the Palestinians over the Israeli apartheid. That's what her and Rashida Tlaib say. Oh, the Israeli apartheid. Get out, beat it. They should cross the southern border the other way. It's real easy to get across that way. I'm not kidding either. I worked down in Mexico, Matamoros, Mexico, with my father. It was a long time ago, about 15 years ago, I'd say. We were installing a machine. My father owned a company that built automation equipment. So he built this $3 million machine, huge. It might have been $4 million. I can't remember, but it was monstrous. And what it did is it filled fire extinguishers, all different sizes, and it filled them, and then it torqued and charged them as well, and so they could actually be used. But it cut out, like he's like the bad guy in movies who automates the equipment. So he automated it, which they were able to produce way more bottles at a way more, with adding way more accuracy to it and less rejects. But anyways, so I was down there. Not that you needed to know that. I was just down there for like 8 weeks working, and we would go every day. We'd stay in Brownsville, Texas, because we weren't going to stay in Matamoros. Just saying. We stayed in Brownsville. Beautiful place. I believe it's like 90-something% Hispanic, and then whatever. But it's all, you don't find illegal immigrants there. You find, people who came to this country legally, who are working. It's not a poor area. They got wealthy areas and middle class. That's it right there. It's people doing the right thing. And they're just as against, the illegal immigration as anybody, even though the Dems don't think so. But anyways, we'd go across every day to Matamoros, Mexico. We drive in, and they would just basically wave us in. Yeah, you're coming from the U.S. to Mexico? Get in there. They had like a little stoplight. We didn't have to stop. They had like a stoplight at the gate thing, and the gate would go down, and the stoplight would turn green. And like every maybe 30 or 40th car, it would turn red, and that person would have to stop and like actually like show a license or something. Then they're like, beat it. They didn't search your car. But on the way back, let me tell you, at that time, to get through legally back into the United States, we were on this bridge that connects the countries from Matamoros to Brownsville. We would sit on that bridge. It was a long bridge. We'd sit on that bridge for 2-3 hours at rush hour, and at least an hour and a half when it wasn't rush hour. There were so many people coming back, either back in or just into the country, and it was very interesting to see how easy it was basically to get into Mexico, and how hard it was at the time to get into the U.S. I mean, we got searched one time, my dad and I. I had to take the stuff I got and put it in. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's. I imagine that if more Mexicans more people from Latin America or Cuba, actually they're coming from all over. So more people coming in would go through the correct channels and go through the port of entry like that. There, you could really still claim asylum and you'd be fine, and it wouldn't be a talking point for the Republicans as much anymore. And it wouldn't be such a big deal because they would actually be screened and they have the proper people there to process them. But they don't here. So anyways, right now what's going on is the migrants, the illegal migrants, let me make sure I say that, the illegal aliens, which they hate, are actually being put up in a 4-star hotel in New York City. Like, I'm not kidding you. Do you know what Clay and Buck were talking earlier. Do you know what a 4-star hotel costs in New York City? Now, take a guess if you want. I mean, it's crazy. It's like $350 per night in a 4-star hotel. Most people have never stayed in a 4-star hotel in Manhattan. Maybe in the Bronx or Harlem or something, but not in Manhattan. Like, this is straight Manhattan 4-star hotel. And finally, the hotel says, well, we can't accommodate this anymore. They're tearing the place up and stuff. So they found another venue for them to stay at. Guess what? They won't leave. They won't leave. They said, no, we're not leaving. Imagine that. Imagine that, right? Imagine that the people who came across the border of our southern border illegally, claiming asylum, which is against international and federal law, the way they do it, won't leave. The reason I say that is because that it's against international law is because when you're fleeing oppression, whether or a war, whatever, if you're fleeing a country that is oppressive, is war torn, is at war, whatever, you have the right to claim asylum. International law states that, our federal law states that, but the fact is, you have to do such at the first country that you touch that isn't like that isn't oppressive, that it has an actual government that is, it doesn't have to be the greatest government in the world, it doesn't have to be the greatest country in the world, but the fact that it's not going to be oppressive and you're not going to get hit with missiles makes it your asylum country, which means everybody coming from the Southern Triangle should have asylum in Mexico. Bottom line. So when AOC stands up and says they're coming, they're fleeing because they need asylum from us and they need to be, she knows. Maybe she doesn't know. Maybe she's so stupid she doesn't know. But the fact of the matter is they're not claiming asylum because they're fleeing here and whatever, because they already had it. If they would have stopped in Mexico and said, boom, I need asylum, Mike, I'm from I'm from Venezuela. The government is so oppressive that my family's starving, this and that. Boom, you have it in Mexico. Oh, I don't want it in Mexico, so I'm going to make that long trip up to the States, and I want it in I'd like to have it in San Diego, but if not, I'll settle for Miami. Like, it's like they're telling people, the migrants are telling them where they want to go, and that's where they're going. So it's crazy, but it's not. That's not how it's supposed to work. First of all, you go through a legal port of entry, and if you're coming from, for example, Cuba. Now, Cuba, the Cubans coming from Cuba on a boat, they hit, as long as they don't go to Mexico first, they hit our country. They have the right to claim asylum. They have every right in the world to claim asylum because we're the first country they're hitting. Come on, I got something in my eye. That sucks. Anyways, but guess what? Guess what country gets turned away the most? Guess which migrants are turned away the most? Cuba. And why is that? Well, let me tell you. Cuba and Cubans, when they come here, tend to vote Republican. They tend to be conservative in nature. They tend to, like I said, vote conservative, vote Republican, and they're never going to be progressive liberal, ever. Cubans will never go that way because it's against every value and moral they have. I mean, you might find some, one or two, but for the most part, it's against how they were raised, against what they believe in. Especially when you're taking like God out of the equation and all that. I mean, they're eating themselves by doing stuff like that. But anyways, so of course they're turned away the most, right? Even though their country truly is war torn, it's oppressive, it's ridiculous in nature, and it's like, you could die tomorrow if you don't agree with the regime there. Talk about fleeing. There's people. It's just not the Southern Triangle, Mexico and Cuba and Haiti or something. It's like, you know what? It's people from all over the globe, and they see an opportunity, an economic opportunity, or it could be, one in, an opportunity that is very, evil in nature, and that's horrible. And I hope there's very few and far between, but there definitely is some that have come here for the wrong reasons and just, played the game with our border patrol and said the right things and got their little cell phone and asked where they want to go. And they said, I want to go to a place where I can blow up buildings. What? No, nothing. I just want to go to Chicago. They can go anywhere they want. So, come to find out, there's 35,000 Russian immigrants that have come through the southern border since 2021. 35,000. That's a lot of Russian people that have flown in to Mexico and come here. So, I mean, it's, again, they're fleeing oppression and stuff, but they hit Mexico. When they hit Mexico, that's where they're supposed to have their asylum. So, now, Russia, they have some diabolical, schemes they pull with people. We all know Putin's like that. He is very smart. Now, oh my God, he said he's smart. I remember when Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump both said Putin was very smart. Oh my God, they love him. They're in bed with Putin because they said he's smart. No, you better know he's smart. You better respect your adversaries, or you're gonna get clobbered by them if you don't. You might hate them, but you better respect them because their actual talents and their actual what they do well and what they can do and what they're capable of doing. You better respect that, or you might get blindsided. So anyways, Putin is very smart. You don't think that he sees, not only him, but others, as other, Iranian, the Iranian regime, North Korea, China. You don't think they all see that southern border open like a sieve and they don't go there? They don't send people on a plane to Mexico City, to Tijuana, to Juarez, to Matamoros, to any of the border towns, or even, like I said, Mexico City, or places that aren't the border town, because then it doesn't look so damn suspicious. But you make the trip after that. You don't think out of those 35,000 people, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people who really need to get it out of there and wanted to just escape what's going on in Russia and war. But there are some, I will put money on it, there are some that are there for the wrong reason. They're here to ensure the U.S. doesn't do anything stupid to Russia, or if we continue to give massive amounts of equipment and better equipment, more advanced equipment to Ukraine, you better bet your ass something's going to happen. Putin already told us that. You better take him seriously, Joe. And say something, because we never would have said that with Trump. They're so all about Russia still. They still believe that Trump is in bed with Putin and, what's his name? Kim Jong-un from North Korea. They believe it. People are like, I mean, the fact that he met with Kim Jong-un, him and Pompeo met him, it's genius. It's awesome. It's exactly why we didn't have missiles flying all over the place the last 2 years of the Trump, the Trump term. It's why, because guess what? Even though they both probably went, after meeting each other, was like, fuck that guy. They respect each other. They respect, and Trump he doesn't play games. He'll let people listen to things like, he'll call up a leader and say, listen to this. And it's the sound of like machine guns and bomb. Boom. He's like, that's what your country's going to be. Or he'll show him a picture of a deserted desert and be like, this is what your country's going to be if you do what you're planning to do. And it's all over from there. Strength. It's peace through strength. Exactly what it is. And it works. And Biden doesn't. He doesn't believe in it. Biden's, we will protect and fight for Taiwan. Then he has to walk it back. So Xi's like, he's going to fight us? What are the details? He's not. Never mind. He walked it back, that old bastard. That son of a bitch. He walked it back. Nobody respects Joe Biden. They say, now that the leaders of the world actually respect our Joe Biden, things are different. How can you even make that statement? He said that there's this was on Twitter the other day, that they don't respect Trump. They never did. You know what? They might not have liked Trump, a lot of them, but they damn well respected him, and they damn well knew that he was serious about what he did. He told the Taliban when they were getting ready to do that, the remove our troops. He told them straight up, if you kill or shoot at any of our troops, I am going to do exactly what I did in the caves with the bomb. When he dropped the Moab, the mother of all bombs, on a cave to eliminate ISIS. I mean, he dropped a Moab. If you go look that up, he dropped that thing, and where he dropped it, it was very visible by the satellites for Russia and China. They saw the whole thing happen, in real time, and then they probably replayed it about 100 times, because not only did he accomplish the goal of getting rid of the terrorists, I mean, it wiped them out. It takes the oxygen right out of the air for for a long way, and just everything there dies. Boom, done. People were in the cave with their machine guns getting ready. They were like, done, just done. And it was a show of strength. And when the Pentagon reviewed it, now you remember a lot of those people in the Pentagon were not big fans of Donald Trump. That's a fact. And they said in the official letter that they wrote after the incident, they stated that not only did it accomplish what he wanted it to accomplish, it also was a huge deterrent for Russia and China, because it was a complete show of strength, and they showed exactly what would happen if they were to, do something stupid. If they were to, do anything, they send someone here with a bomb packs, shoot down one of our satellites, hit our aircraft carriers, our embassies, anything like that. That, he said that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen, I promise. And it worked. Again, it worked. I mean, did anybody see any kind of actual proof or hint that Putin liked Trump? No. Putin respected Trump, though. Like Trump said the other day, I could end this war in 24 hours. I mean, maybe he could, maybe he can't, but it's basically, he's basically saying that this would never have gotten this far. We wouldn't have had to send all that money and all our freaking tanks and shit and all our missiles over to Ukraine, because it never would have happened. And people are like, I can't believe the Democrats say what they say. They're so stupid. Just keep saying, Trump and Putin, he'd do anything Putin says. Okay, well, why didn't Putin take his men and put them on the border of Ukraine, like he did in the intimidation in the beginning towards Ukraine, basically showing aggression and saying, people thought it was a bluff. Some people did, some people didn't. But anyways, it would have never happened, bottom line, because it would have happened during Trump's term if he knew that he could get away with it. No, why it happened as soon as Biden got into office is when it happened. That's when the aggression started. That's when the buildup of the troops started. And that's when the threat started. Why? Why? Simply put, because Biden doesn't show any strength. Therefore, peace is not an option. Therefore, we're in danger at all times. And I'm not saying, oh, we got to watch for missiles in the sky, but I'm also not saying we got to watch for missiles in the sky, because I also am saying that because it's something that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen under Biden. And when the patience, like I said, how patient Al-Qaeda was, and ISIS is the same way. And you could sit there and call them the JV team, but that doesn't work because they start cutting off our heads. Remember that with Obama? But the new ISIS and that has formed because of our Afghan withdrawal nonsense. We're not going to talk about that now because that just infuriates me. But Trump drops a Moab, Biden has people hanging off a plane, and it just screws everything up completely and looks like an idiot right off the bat. Whatever. So anyways, like I said, the 35,000 Russians that came across the border. Also, that means that's 35,000 that were caught. Like I said, how many came in and didn't get caught from Russia? Now, those are the ones you have to worry about the most. What about, what about the ones that are waiting for orders from Putin or the Russian government? If, Putin said, we're about to be at war with NATO and, the U.S. because they are going too far with what they're giving Ukraine. I mean, in his defense, am I saying he's right with anything he's doing? No, absolutely not. But you can actually say, things that you believe and that your opinion without getting shot down by a million people and blasted on Twitter. In his defense, how would we feel if we were fighting someone and China's just we're not fighting China, but they're just giving weapons to that country to fight us? We'd be pissed. We say China's, fighting a proxy war. We're fighting a proxy war, believe it or not. We are. And I don't know if I agree with everything. Zelensky doesn't seem to want peace. Because Putin said he would sit down, and Zelensky said no way. There's a lot more to that story of Ukraine. And if any of you watching, or any of you who watch this later, if you know anything, if you have family members in Russia or Ukraine, or if you have any insight that's legit, that's real, they have some evidence to back up with. If you have it, please get in touch with me either on Facebook. Just message me. You can message me here or at the Right on Red or Divide pages, or text me at 585-802-0757. I have had some of you guys texting me lately, and that's cool. I'll respond to you guys, and that's awesome. If you have ideas, if you have corrections, maybe I said something wrong, send it to me. I like to learn too. But if you have any insight into some of the stuff that, we're not being told, please fire it my way. I'm not talking about conspiracy theory stuff. I'm talking about things that, I have three girls that are Russians, and they're from Russia, and they have family in Russia still. And they're not, pro-war, or they're not pro-Putin, invading. But they are saying that there's much more to this story than meets the eye that we're being told. And she said, our government right now is hiding things like the Iranian government would do. Or like, some complete communist country would do. Because the propaganda that we're getting fed is nonsense. Nonsense, I tell you. Here's the number, by the way, of how many immigrants have crossed that border since January 21. 5 million. 5 million. That's who's crossed. That's who we've had contact with. That's who we've caught. That's who we've, processed and everything. Now, the gotaways, you gotta almost match the number. I mean, I'm sure it's maybe 60, 70% of the number at least. But, you're talking closer to 9 million total, probably. And remember, it's always been for the last 20 years, 11 million undocumented folks. You know, amnesty for 11 million undocumented folks. 11 million, you know there's more than 11 million. There's been more than 11 million here for the last 15 years. But they have always stated that's 11 million. That's the number they come up with. Even though every year we see all these people come in and they stay with 11 million. 11 million. No, come on. There's people, there's experts and media outlets that estimate the number to be closer to, believe it or not, 25 million. One even says 30 million. And you know, the average of what we're hearing is about, you know, closer to 20 million, about 18 to 22, somewhere around there, 20 million total right now. But when you add 5 million people since January 21st, that number is going to shoot up real quick. It's going. I mean, all right, now let me jump to this. You know how you gotta love, first of all, this border policy from the left. It's a joke. They always say they want a comprehensive border policy. No, you don't. You don't want to work with us on a comprehensive, you know, bipartisan border policy. You just want your own way. And you want to make it so illegal immigrants can come in as quick as possible, as long as they're not from Cuba, Afghanistan, or even Haiti. Because guess what? They might vote Republican. But guess what? Actually, Latinos in general, even the illegal immigrants, there's a lot more Republican voters than the left thought. So we might see a shift. Maybe we will see some comprehensive border policy. Anyways, the biggest thing with the left is we have a more compassionate look and ideology for immigration. Our immigration ideology is compassion. We want everyone to be welcome to our country. Yeah, that's a really, really nice thought. Really nice. You've really thought that through and looked at how that would work, right? Anyways, compassionate. Let me tell you about, if you don't know about this, how incompassionate, however they say it, how ridiculous this policy and how dangerous this policy has been. Let me tell you, the number of migrant deaths is like insanely more already than through Trump's 4 years. Through 2+ years, the Biden border policy has created almost 50 times more migrant deaths than Trump in 4 years. Did you hear? Yeah, 50 times. Like, that's what, 5,000%? Math genius. Anyways, so imagine, the journey's crazy, obviously. Imagine walking from, Rochester here to Oregon, to Portland, in that beautiful city, right? Imagine walking there. That's what the journey's like up through Mexico. I mean, it might even be farther than that, but there's been an absolute, you walk that and you're over, if you're overweight, if you have diabetes, if you have health issues, if you're a child, if you're elderly, if you're a woman who's got any ailments, if you get COVID, if you have respiratory issues, if you have anything, you have an infection. Infections are common on that walk because you get a cut, you get a scrape, you get boils, whatever, blisters. Anyways, it's been ridiculous. But there's the one, I think in El Paso, I believe it is, Eagle Pass, they have a cemetery full of John Does and Jane Does and whatever the kids, however they say the kids, and they're just crosses. I mean, there's got to be at least 60 to 70 of them, right? Just in that area alone. People are dying left and right. Farmers and ranchers are finding migrant bodies on their land. Not once, not twice, not three, but multiple times, like 5, 6, 7, 8 times one of them had. I mean, they're finding, and the reason being is not only because the journey's tough, it's because who's leading that journey? It's the cartel. We all know that, so there's no reason to even talk about how rich we're making the cartel. But anyway, so the cartel's leading that journey. Now, you break your ankle. This is a real story. That actually did happen to one of the migrants, and he didn't die. That's how we got the story out of him, but they thought he was dead. He broke his ankle, sprained his ankle, didn't even break it. But he said, I need to see someone, I need to wrap this up. Boom! They shot him right in the chest, left him there, right in front of his kid. Took the kid with them. That's it. Like, you don't get into the U.S. and, you're free and clear of any debt towards the cartel. No, there's the cartel people waiting for you on this side. They have so many people in America, it's ridiculous. So you owe them. So the women who are single women, if they're going or their husbands went the other way, they owe the cartel money. They don't have $1,000 or $2,000, whatever they charge. They're getting raped. There's been so many rapes that it's like they don't even release the number anymore, because they know that it's astronomically more than it's been for any other president, especially with the last administration. Like I said, if you're sick, elderly, blah blah blah, the journey that you get dealt with. If you can't make the journey anymore, you get dealt with, and you know what that means, obviously. And there's women and children are being trafficked because they owe the cartel. Just like that's been like that forever with women from Korea and Vietnam and stuff. You get these pop-up massage joints. When they pop up, I go right to them. No, I'm just kidding. They're not. I mean, they're massage joints. Yeah, sure, they'll massage you for a little bit, but you know what they are. And those women, they're forced to be there. They're forced to perform sexual acts. They're forced to be there. I'm sitting in a parking lot doing the show, so they're forced to be there. And it's the same thing that's happening now at our southern border. They're being forced to, do sexual acts with, prostitution, things like that. They're forced to be with someone they pick. The cartel wants you're with him for a long time. Then they'll switch her up to another person. They're trafficking women and children like crazy because of this policy. Rapes are up 300%. Then that was the last time we had the number. It's way more than that. Like I said, they don't want to release the number anymore. Farmers, I told you, they're finding migrants in their land. There's been more drownings than any other president in 8 years. Biden's done it in 2 years. I mean, that's something you want to be proud of. You have more migrants drown under your watch, Biden, Joe, Super Joe, than any other president has in 4 or 8 years. Good job. You should be proud of that one. Another record for Joe. Woo. And the most of the people who drown, the same thing. It's elderly, children, women, obese people who have ailments, people who have a respiratory issue. That's how it's rolling. They're drowning, and we've seen the Border Patrol. They'll go after them and try to save them, and they have. There's been some heroic Border Patrol agents who have actually saved people from drowning and given them CPR, chest compressions, and doing what they have to do. Nobody wants to see anybody die. Let's get that straight, AOC. But you are the one. Your progressive bullshit policy is the one that's creating more migrant deaths than ever. So, do they see that? No. Does that sound compassionate to you, by the way? Does it? Doesn't sound compassionate. Well, what about the cages? Obama built the cages. Joe's using the cages too, except he made them bigger because they have more people in them now. So, get off that too. It's quite the opposite of compassionate. Quite the opposite. It's it's been something that the border's been something that has affected us, like I said, in all aspects of our life. We don't, most people have it like down on their list a little bit, like 4 or 5 out of what's the most important thing. But honestly, if you go to people down by the border in Texas that live in the United States, that are legal citizens of the United States, whether they're white, whether they're Latino, whether they're black, it doesn't matter. They all say the same thing. We need to tighten this shit up. Something's got to be done. And the fact that Arizona puts up, cargo shipping containers, where the wall was unfinished to block people from coming through, and the federal government makes them take it down. What does that tell you? Like, what other reason would you have to take it down, to make them take it down, other than you want immigrants to be able to come through that gate. They say walls don't work. Why is Biden spending all this money, taxpayer money, to put walls around his beach house right now? Walls. He's putting up like 20-foot walls around it, but they don't work. Well, all you have to do is watch the satellite cam or the helicopter cam for immigration, or for the migrants when they're coming in. Do they climb over the wall or go under, or do they walk to the hole in the wall? Dun, 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 then they go through. The wall wasn't designed to be a be-all end-all. It was designed to funnel people to the legal points of entry, not to funnel people to a missing spot of the wall. It was designed to be the first line of defense, to give border agents more time. Now, if they want to dig a hole to go under it, guess what? It's going to take a little time. There's a damn good chance the border agents are going to eventually see that while they're doing it, because it's not a 2-hour job. That's like a full day job to get a hole to go underneath. And they probably don't have the equipment to do it as well. It's not like they have augers and shit like that. They're probably showing up with a wooden shovel that's going to snap on as soon as they're a foot deep and shit. Digging with their hands, stuff like that. You're not going over the wall. You're not. You're just not. It's a line of defense, the first line of defense. Okay, if someone wants to break into your home, right? They're getting in, right? If they want to break a window and get in, or kick your door in and get in, or, they can get in if they want. Do we all agree on that? They can get in, correct? Absolutely. Does that mean we don't lock our windows and doors anymore? No, we do. We still lock our doors. We still lock our doors, even though if some criminal wants to get in our house, they're going to break the window or kick the door down, and they can still get in, no problem, right? But it's the first line of defense. Guess what? If you have the door unlocked, they can open it quietly and walk in. At least if you have it locked, you're going to hear them kick that thing down or break a window. So you lock the door. That's the same with the wall. The wall is the first line of defense. It's not there to be the only thing that we have, and it's just going to stop illegal immigration completely. No, not at all. That's just not even what it was expected to do. Nobody expected that. It was going to be it was going to be in cooperation with drones, with sensors, with other things of new technology that work. Just like at our house. Do we just lock the door? No. You can have alarm systems. You have other types of deterrence. You might have cameras outside, inside. You might have, sensors on your windows, things like that. Those are other lines of defense. Like the first one always is going to be you lock your goddamn door, though, right? I mean, we all agree on that, I would think. But apparently walls don't work, but they still get built everywhere everywhere in this country when we need them. Anyways, that's about all I have to say about the border. It's a joke. I just told you everything I researched about this border and why it's a mess, and how they're in New York City, like I said, they are just deciding they're not going to leave. They're not going to leave that 4-star hotel they were put up in New York City for the last month or so. So, like, you couldn't see that one coming, right? We'll leave. Well, hold on, I gotta get something out of my room. Boom, you hear the locks go. Of course they're not gonna want to leave. It's $350 a night to get a room at a 4-star hotel in Manhattan. They're getting it for free. They're not gonna leave. They're also, when they're getting it for free like that, they're also not going to, do things that will make them, ultimately something that a productive member of our society. No, it's just like when you put the addicts up in hotel, and then you give them drugs and you give them paraphernalia like needles and all that. Hey, I got you a room. When you go in, there's going to be a bucket of needles. There's a nice sharps container there for you. There's little cookers over there. There's cotton. Do you need anything else for your setup, or are you good? Well, can you give me a couple bags of drugs and a doctor to watch me shoot? Oh yeah, just walk outside. If you go left, there's a spot where you can shoot up for right on the street, and a doctor will watch you with Narcan, so in case you OD. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just made that up. I didn't make that fucking up. That's real. That's in Philadelphia. That's in San Francisco. It's in New York City. That's real shit that's happening. So, I mean, the migrants aren't going to leave. The addicts aren't going to leave when they're getting stuff like that. And now the city's bitching. New York City's flipping out. The mayor, well, they won't leave. Well, no, maybe you should think about your initial what you did initially and why they won't leave and what's going on and what the outcome is. And maybe take some accountability for your actions, Mayor, because by doing what you did, you created monsters. You created people. It's just like I said, with the welfare state and things like that. You can't put somebody on it for 5 years and then expect them to, why aren't you doing anything? I don't know, because you just give me free money all the time, and free housing. And why am I going to do anything? It's common sense. It's common sense, but they don't go by it. So now there's more cities that want to do that, put them up in hotels and so on and so on. So it's like, and they'll tell the migrants when they come in, which cities are allowing them to stay for free in hotels and things. They're like, can I go to, Arkansas? No, they don't have any hotels. You got to find your own and get your own money, find a job and stuff. Shit. No, I mean, I'm not saying they're lazy, the migrants. I'm sure tons of them come here for the right reasons and they want to work. But like I said, if you have a chance to go to city A, that's going to put you up in a 4-star hotel in the nicest part of the city and give you food and stuff, or you have to go to city B, which is in a red state, and you know what? You might have to live in a tent for a little while until you find a job, and you might have to actually provide for yourself. You might actually have to go to the office and actually talk to the person, fill out applications, fill out forms and stuff before they're going to help you with shelter and all that. You might have to do some work. Nah, I'm going to go to City A. I'm going to go to the first one. Yeah, I don't blame you. The bus is right over there. Get on. That's how progressive policy works. Progressive policy is woke policy, which is a joke. It rewards laziness, it rewards incompetence, and it rewards people who have an entitled attitude, who don't want to do anything. They actually penalize you if you're on welfare and you want to. If you're on welfare and you're on Section 8 or whatever, having your house paid for and getting cash cards and getting a food stamps or whatever, and you're using it properly. You're saying, well, I'm on this because I had a couple bad breaks, but my goal is to get a good job and get on top of things again. And you start to do that, and they say, no, we're going to cut you off your welfare. As soon as you get that job, day one, boom, you're done. Now, companies hold back checks. Everybody knows that. So you're not going to get paid for maybe a month, a couple weeks, 3 weeks, month. And what are you supposed to do? You have no money. All of a sudden you're cut off. They took your benefits away. You have no money to get groceries. You can't pay your rent. And now you have to pay your rent. You have no money to get gas, this and that. It's like, shit. All right, I'll just stay on the welfare. And the left's just like, yeah, you will. That's exactly what you'll do. I mean, anybody who looks at the welfare state and the welfare program, you can see that in 5 minutes of reading about it. If you go on the website and look at it, you'll see within 5 minutes, they're targeting the black community, which is racist as hell, and they're targeting those who are the most vulnerable, especially like single moms with kids, things like that. They target them, and they're specifically telling them, you can't go into the suburbs and live. You got to live right here in this area. And they're keeping them in a close area. That's just like the progressive way of life. I mean, you have them all the time. These crazy ass progressive people saying that the goal is to get rid of cars and only use public transportation for the most part, and get rid of people living in rural areas, get them into the city. Rural areas should be for government, for things like that. And but we'll protect you. We'll protect everyone in these cities. We just need you all in there using public transportation. And no, you can't own a gun. Obviously, guns are stupid, and they kill people. They just go off and kill people. So we're taking care of you. Doesn't that sound like a great idea? It sounds like a fucking horrible idea. It sounds like a goddamn chapter out of 1984. Like it sounds like a progressive utopia. So you guys love it? Absolutely. Except for utopia. I have a lot of other thoughts of utopia, but anyways, I'm gonna get going. I just wanted to really talk and dig into the border and a little bit about progressive policy today. It's too bad that I didn't get to be on 106.3 FM, Rochester Free Radio today. Again, if you just joined me or joined me late, We are moving studios from the Hungerford building to somewhere. I'll find out where. But doesn't matter where. You just tune in. You don't need to know where it is, right? So yeah. Anyways, we're moving, and the soundboard and everything wasn't up yet. They were streaming, but they can't have any live broadcasts. So if you tuned into me on 106.3, you heard last week's show. That's what you're hearing right now, or heard right when it was on. But if you wanted it live, you tuned in here. But thanks for joining me, guys. Check me out next week. I will be live on 106.3 and here.